Assalamu alaikum and welcome everybody to the Halal Times YouTube channel. Today we are excited to bring you a wonderful personality. Today, hopefully, we will be able to learn a lot from Mr. Dilshad. Currently, he's based in the US in Florida. I would like to discuss a few things about his company and the kind of work which he's been doing for the Muslims all over the world. So let's talk to him. Welcome to the Halal Times YouTube channel. I really appreciate the time you've taken to speak with us today, sir. First of all, I would like to ask you, could you please let us know a bit about yourself and how you got started in your journey in the financial industry, please?
Sure. Actually, I moved to US about 20 years ago. Actually, it's been exactly 20 years. And then in the United States, I got my education. Basically, I got my bachelor's degree in finance and accounting from University of Tennessee in Knoxville. And then now I did my CFA charter holder like designation, like CFA certification from US. It took me several years actually to get that. And then I did my MBA from University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. I got my Master of Business Administration degree. From career-wise, I worked for a small, like independent research and hedge fund for a couple of years right after school. And then I moved to Wells Fargo Securities, in Charlotte. I worked for 7.5 years. I helped the actual team, like I worked for securities, so we built like several like trading investment platforms actually for investment for a company, and it was successful. We actually built like several of them. So I was very closely like actually involved in actually the spearheaded, you could say, that the projects about the investment platforms. So that's where actually it's interestingly like back in when I was doing my undergraduate like several years ago, and I realized at the time that Islamic finance was not even like actually was a lot more frankly a lot more behind from traditional finance from every single aspect. And then when I did my CFA certification, I had to go through like 10,000 pages of finance materials, and that actually brought it actually it made it much more clearer that what we are missing in Islamic world. And basically even at the work or you could say that going through materials, you see how complicated all the financial like product got complicated, like going all the derivatives, swaps, and different forms of options, swaptions. So when you look at this and everything, you'd be amazed like how much the finance got ahead in US or in Western countries, I would say. But in Muslim countries, like you cannot, most people don't even know what the stock is. And if they ask them what's a stock, they go jump and say, "Oh, it's not halal, it's halal, it's haram." So there's a lot of confusion around it. So that's when I realized actually, either personally I could just stay in traditional finance, just think about myself and be financially independent, or go do something bigger for Muslims or Muslim Ummah in general, and bring about the change and educate them financially as much as they can, so they can have some piece of the share, I would say, of global development, right? So the global GDP goes up a certain point, and we have the equity market, especially like in like hundreds of trillions of dollars right now. And how much of that gain is actually Muslims are gaining? And unfortunately, what big piece was missing was actually not just the financial product but it was a financial education. That's when we realized that actually the teaching or educating financially was the first step for financial independence for Muslims around the world. That's when we launched a company called, and initially it was called Amana Trade, but later we want to go with something bigger because our vision is much more than trading platform. It's about like building a one-stop shop for all needs for Muslims. Well, if they want to do like learn financial terms, or maybe do some investments, or do some stock research, or almost like a lot of actually going through different kind of financial products. That's when we actually changed the name to Musaffa because we like the name. It actually means like purified, coming from Arabic word. It means like we remove the unpurified portion and leave the purified one.
That's right.
And right now with the Musaffa, actually, Alhamdulillah, we started by myself, and then I brought the idea to several of my co-workers right now, I would say, and partners. Alhamdulillah, we grew to be more than 30 people in a year, a little bit over a year. We have people right now from US. We have like 4 or 5 people from US, from Canada, from Uzbekistan, from India, Malaysia, and Indonesia. So amazingly, we got over 30 people right now. And that's how we started. And we have actually the education part, like we have a Musafa Academy and Musafa community right now. On Academy, Musafa Academy, and we have people who have Islamic finance background, and they help us write articles. And so far, we've published over 300 articles, like on Musafa Academy. And it's
Oh,
just small articles. It's about like some people have questions like, is it halal? Is it not halal? Basic questions, right? And it's driving some traffic actually because people have a lot of questions. And one thing I'm very passionate about the academy is actually we developing something called investment series halal 101. And before let's say you want to explain what the stock is and everything, if people don't know what the P ratio, for example, or price to earning ratio, price to sales, or could be like basic, very simple basic terms in financial terms. And we are actually preparing like small articles for each different term, and try to educate them. And it has a series 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And other than that, we have general information like people want to get student loan, for example. Is it okay for me to get a student loan or not? Or they ask so many different questions, not really related to investments too, but we still like try to work on them. And it's going well, alhamdulillah. Yes,
mashallah,
that's how we
that's really
start the journey,
amazing.
actually. That's my educational professional experience. Right.
Right. So it's really wonderful. It's very important for today's world, as you mentioned. So you
Mhm.
offer, when I visited your website some time ago, it says that halal stock, you offer halal stock and ETF screener. What does it mean for
Yes.
your customer?
Well, here's the thing. As I was talking about the derivatives, for example, right? Or you can say bonds. And we know that from Sharia perspective, like derivatives, mostly it's not allowed because they're mostly not asset based,
Hmm.
and bonds are not allowed because they're riba, interest based. So we did a little bit of research. If you look at just on top of my head, you could say that uh, all overall the market, like I'm talking about financial instruments. So you have derivatives, you have like fixed income market, which includes the majority bond market, and you have stock market.
Right.
So from all these three, let's say it's like last time we checked was 1.4 over 1.4 quadrillion, or 1400 like billion
Hmm.
dollars, trillion dollars, 1400 trillion dollars of the market that we have.
Hmm.
And out of that, only 8% is stock market, around 8%. So
Oh,
84% is derivatives market.
oh,
Another 8, 9% is like bonds market. But if you include the fixed income market, it's even bigger. So out of that, let's say I'm just doing a ballpark 8%, that market that Muslims are allowed to invest. So other like 92% is gone basically, which means like I'm talking about the dollar value.
that's right.
So 8%, but even out of the 8%, Muslims cannot invest anything they want, right? Because that's where Muslims are very limited in what they can invest in the financial assets. So I'm talking about liquid financial asset, not including real estate.
Right.
So in that case, 8%, but still like there's so much confusion around that 8%. And that's when we decided, well, first of all, before even we built the investment trading platform, we saw that the market needed a really reliable stock screener or ETF screener. And we actually, amazingly, we didn't want to start with the stock screener. We are starting launching an investment platform with the more like on the trading side, and where the Muslims can invest in a actually Sharia compliant like investment platform, which is needed highly with especially potentially 2 billion Muslims around the world. So, but not a really reliable one. Even Malaysia being one of the most Islamically, where the Islamic fund is much more developed, even the top 10 trading platforms, they're all like not Sharia compliant. And when we did the research, a lot of financial managers and money managers in Indonesia, Malaysia, they said they would love to actually invest through a Sharia compliant platform, but they didn't have one. Even the number one in Malaysia was Ameritrade, which is like a US company. And basically, when you invest in those companies, people don't realize the cash they put is going to be lended out on margin about 8%. So the money they actually put on the I would say that with the company, it's going to be they're going to make money out of it. So even though they don't make money, they helping company make riba out of it. So anyway, there is a lot of complications. So when we tried to find a good stock screener, you wouldn't believe we could not find a single solid, dependable stock screener. And everybody, like all the stock screens in the world, I can you name one by one. We learned them and not reliable because they don't do in-depth research. And one of the stock screeners that we initially work with, I'm not gonna name them, but they were not even looking at the financial statements. They were just looking at the third party and pulling out the information. And for example, non-operating income, one of the things, and they were saying it's interest income, which doesn't make sense because interest income could be non-operating income, but non-operating income could be a lot more than that. So, since I have my personally, I used to work as an equity research analyst for a hedge fund in US. So we went through like 10Ks, like annual reports, quarterly reports, very, very in-depth, going through the footnotes, like, dig out all the information we can. And of course, other than annual reports, quarterly reports, we would look at the presentations of the companies and then the website and go every public available information. So when we saw that how much can be done in screening world and what hasn't been done at all, and there was only a handful, 4 or 5 of them, and they're really bad. And when I say bad, it's really bad. One of them is doing a little bit good job, but still not that good. So that's when we decided actually, well, if you're gonna build investment platform, of course, either we have to partner with other parties to get a stock screen, or we have to do it ourselves. And we couldn't find one reliable, so we start ourselves. Alhamdulillah, right now we cover almost like 10,000 stocks, and we have like for now we have 8 full-time analysts. Day and night they do analysis, 8 full-time analysts, and they're very trained, and they go every single report, every single line item. There are over like 300 line items that you need to go through, and each one you have to figure out if it's Sharia compliant or not. And it's very, very detailed work, and it takes a lot of time and patience. But alhamdulillah, we went through that, and now we cover 6 major global markets. And we are actually building a really good feature we're releasing next week, that people all over the world, they can request whatever they want it to be scanned, and we can do the on demand. And because there's so many of them, and then you have to update them regularly because every quarter they release new reports, and they have to update it quarterly. So that's the initial step. So as I was saying to our team, we are building this investment and trading and platform. And this, what we do with Screener is that it's a foundation, because unless you have that, tomorrow, inshallah, we plan to release our own ETFs, exchange trade funds, and by using our own proprietary stock screener. So because as you know, if you don't have a good foundation, you're not gonna make it work, because specifically we know so many investment trading investment platforms right now taking millions of people's money and investing in not really Sharia compliant stocks.
Yes.
And about we analyzed one big one, and we found that 20% of their holding is not Sharia compliant, and we can prove that. And the point is as I was saying, in finance, there's a very good saying. In anything, I would say that garbage in, garbage out. It sounds rude, but that's the case. You might have the best model, best platform, but if you don't have the right input in there, you're not going to have right output.
Yeah.
So that's where we started, and we stand by every single stock we analyze and screen, and we use the AFI methodology, and because we're trying to bring a standard to the world. Right now, you would be amazed in this even screening world. There's so many different methodologies, and the thing is, like, there needs to be some kind of order in actually not just a screening. I'm talking about the all investment thing. That's one I realized. I like to the similarity between the stock screener and what's going right now. If you look at the U.S. history around like maybe a couple of 200 years ago, the banks, U.S. banks, and they had so many different banks, they were printing their own money. So it was really nightmare because people wouldn't transact properly because you want a transaction with the other guy that you're trying to transact has a different bank, different currency. So what would happen? The transaction wouldn't take place. So there won't be any kind of liquid, and the economy would kind of like wouldn't move forward, as you know, since you have economic background. So that's what's happening. It's most likely that's what's happening in the Islamic world with the stock screens right now, and everybody's trying to bring their own stock screener, and then there has to be some kind of order. As you know, in the U.S., like we have one currency right now that's not even just the U.S. for global, right? So the transaction is a lot much smoother and easier. So we're trying to bring that. We're trying to promote AFI methodology because we think it's one of the most conservative ones, and then and bring it together and then promote that so that around the globe, I think it's my personal belief too, there should be one methodology because there's be less confusion around the Muslims, and there's going to be much more smoother like capital inflow outflow around the world. And that's what we're trying to accomplish right now with our first step, actually creating a world most accurate and most comprehensive like stock and ETF screener. Of course, as soon as it picks up, we're going to build a trading platform around it, inshallah.
Wonderful. That's amazing, sir. Sir, I had a question from a layman's perspective. For example, I don't know anything about stock market. So could you please tell me first, what is the meaning of ETF? This is the very first question which I would like to ask you.
Sure.
And for example, I would like to become your member. What will be the process? And how can I benefit from your platform?
Definitely. There's several benefits. Let's come to the first question about ETF.
Yes,
I know we throw it out a lot of finance people, but ETF means exchange trade funds.
Okay.
So what's amazing about this one? It's better than mutual funds. It's actually I'd like to when we talk at the conferences, I'd like to make it simple. I'd like to make it as simple as possible so that anybody can understand the concept. And if anybody can understand what you're trying to say, that means you're doing a good job. So let me start like this. First of all, what's a stock before we get ETF, right? A lot of people say, what's a stock? It's too risky. It's halal, it's haram. Well, think about this. Very, very simplistic term. Stock it's a piece of paper, basically. It used to be a piece of paper, but now it's digital. But it gives you the right. It gives you right of ownership from a company, from a business. That's it. It's nothing else. You buy a piece of business. Even if I buy one stock of Tesla, it means I'm the owner of Tesla. Of course, it can be very, very super small portion, but legally I'm the owner, partial owner of Tesla, right? So the stock means like it gives you the ownership. That's when the company makes profit, they decide to distribute some portion or most of the portion of the profit, they give you dividends. That's the profit. So when you buy a stock, if that company pays the portion of the profits, maybe some of them, they keep all the profits so they can reinvest to the business and grow. Some of them, like big companies, mature companies like Procter & Gamble, they can afford to give the money back to owners and you get dividends. That's it. That's what the stock is. That's a very, very simple term. It's a claim. It's right to ownership. It's ownership of a business. And now it comes the other question. Okay, what kind of business?
Yes, sir.
Is it allowed? Is it not allowed? Some people say, for example, Ford. Oh, they make cars. It's halal. Well, yes, but it's not that easy, right? You have to look at their leverage, how much leverage they have, how much Are they making too much money from interest? Or are they paying too much interest? Okay, so that's why you have more than just the business activity screening. You look at the what the business deals with, right? How many percent of revenue comes from halal sources? That's one. But the other things, you need to look at their financials, see like if they have too much debt, they're paying too much interest. So it's not that easy. So you have to dig deeper. So when it comes to ETFs now, what's an ETF? ETF is an exchange trade fund. Instead of investing in one business, because for most people, they don't have the knowledge or business acumen to analyze the companies, right? The cash flow, balance sheet, and it gets, people take years to learn them. So instead of investing their all money in one company, they might want to invest in 100 different companies. But instead of sitting it down and then trying to find 100 different companies, they just buy one ETF. ETF is actually, you can think of, it's a one stock or one, but it has a claim ownership. You have hundreds of stocks. So for example, one ETF could have 250 stocks in there. One ETF could be 30 stocks. So, and then when you buy ETF, you're just buying like the ownership from 30 different companies or 100 different companies, which helps investors, gives peace of mind because of diversification benefit, right? Because one company goes bankrupt, second one goes actually up. So it kind of like, it evens it out. So in general, you're not going to make a lot of money, but you're going to make probably stable amount of money because you have outperformance, you have underperformance mixed up in the middle, but on average, it might go up. So the ETF is good for regular common folks who don't understand or who don't have the knowledge or time to do research themselves, right? They can just buy ETF and get done with it, and they still make money, but probably not too much. And if you want to make really, really good money, like Warren Buffett, you have to be professional, right? You have to really understand. And instead of investing in 100 different companies, you need to invest in 2 or 3 that's going to outperform everybody, right? Like Tesla did. So that's what ETF is. ETF is basically a bunch of stocks put together. It can be traded at once. So when you trade one ETF, you're going to be trading like, you don't need to buy and sell hundreds of companies within it. You just buy one ticker, one ETF, and then within inside it could be hundreds of different companies. So it's just a super easy, convenient of investing in multiple companies with one transaction. That's what ETF is. And the last question is like, how they're going to benefit from our platform? Right now, we have a platform. Again, we are covering, and other than just saying that the stock is compliant or not compliant, we are going a little bit deeper because, again, our goal was not just doing a stock screener. Our goal is being like full-fledged like investment platform. So whatever we're building on the platform right now, it's everything is like for the investment platform. That's when you're going to find out, you're not going to be able to find other screens probably. Like for every single company that we cover, most of them right now, we are giving out the Sharia compliance. And also I want to give out something that nobody ever did. And it's a very simple thing, but most people go with like, okay, if it's halal or not, but it's not that simple. As I was saying, halal, how halal? Nobody's addressing that. We decide to address that. So even if the stock is halal, we rank them 1 to 5. Being 5 being the most Sharia compliant, which means like they have the least debt, they have the least interest income, they have the least of not halal source of revenue. So they get number 5, right? So people very conservative. They have an option to invest in stocks on the halalness level. They get 4 and 5, which means like very, very Sharia compliant. But you have some companies like Lays 1 and 2. They barely made the filter, right? Because it has to go through a filter. They're most likely they have a lot of debt, a lot of interest income. Maybe they have most of revenue, like maybe some they come from not halal, but they still pass the filter because the filter is based on some kind of formulas, right? So in those people can say that I don't want to invest in 1 and 2 because they might have a chance of going not halal anytime. So rather I want to stick with the 4 and 5 or 3 or up or 3, 4, 5 for them. And not a single stock screener did that. Probably they're going to start doing that since we did it, but that's completely fine as long as it serves the Muslims. But the goal is like, okay, we're offering that halalness level for each company, that halal company. Also, we're getting a recommendation, like 40, 50 analyst recommendations actually for each stock that we cover. And We also have a related stock section. For example, like somebody like for example, Nvidia, that's a US technology company, and they don't want that company probably because they don't realize halal doesn't mean, by the way, let me tell you this one, it's very important. Stock being Sharia compliant doesn't mean it's a good stock. It could be terrible stock, but it could get the 4 or 5 ranking, 4 or 5. But that's what I tell like investors around the world. Okay, a regular investor who's not a Muslim, who doesn't care where the revenue comes from, or they just have one thing, they're gonna look at the recommendation and they can purchase it. But being a Muslim gives another extra layer of challenge, because you first need to know that if it's stock or that the stock you want to purchase is actually Sharia compliant or not, and then you look at the recommendation, then look at the fundamental analysis. So that's why we look at the thing like maybe the stock you want to purchase, your interest is going to be very Sharia compliant, but not a good stock. In that case, you can also look at the related stock section, which is going to give alternatives. And then each related stock is also going to give them, like if it's green, it's halal. If it's red, it's not. So it gives them extra layer of information. And inshallah, that's what we're offering on the platform right now. And then we are actually developing as we go. We also integrating the news, related news. So the Muslims can use our platform right now. At least they can go and come and filter. They can create watch lists, and they get notification when there's a status change. But they can use our platform right now, even though they cannot trade right now, because this takes a lot of work and effort to make it, because we're in the process of getting licenses from the US government, like Security Exchange Commission. So it takes some time until we launch the platform, but right now, at least they can use our platform, come and learn, and then decide what stock they want to buy, and then they can go the regular trading platform in the meantime and purchase or sell those stocks. And that's what we do right now.
Great, sir. Thanks so much. Let's imagine I'm one of your prospective customer. I don't know anything about the stock market, and you told me perhaps in one of my in answer to one of my previous questions that your plan is to screen, basically to be able to screen 60,000 stocks. So that is a big number. But for example, let's imagine I become your member and I start looking at various stock options which I have available as a potential investor. So, but of course, all of them will be halal stock, will be Sharia compliant stocks. There is no doubt about it. Of course, you are doing it for me. The basic job is done by you and your staff. But how to recognize which one is better for me? It's not just halal. The halal question is already done by you guys. So I don't need to worry about it. It's your responsibility. But how should I determine which stock should I invest my money and which stock I should be avoiding at this moment? Because I have a limited amount of money, whatever it is, $1,000 or maybe $100,000, I don't know. So maybe, of course, everybody is different. So how do you help me do that, please?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Again, right now we're not acting as an official advisor. Of course, we have to get specific license to do that in the US. What we are doing right now, as you said, that if they usually we serve like two different kind of people. Some people, as I was saying, they know what they want. They say, "Oh, I want to buy this stock. I just need to find out if it's Sharia compliant or not." That's the first kind of people. And second kind of people, they don't know what they want yet, but they want to invest. And to do that, actually, we are developing right now. We're going to release soon. We are developing advanced like halal stock and ETF screener. That's where they're going to be able to filter out any kind of like stock that they want. Basically, they can filter out, let's say they want to invest in like, say, Singapore, for example, right? Or they have specific preference for Singapore. They can choose a country or region, and they can choose this, what kind of sector they want to invest. They want to invest in technology, or they want to invest in energy, or they're going to go with the industry. And then with the also market cap is really important because do they want to invest in very large caps like or mega caps like Apple or Tesla, or they want to invest in small caps.
Right.
And of course, and then based on the recommendation score, because we also have again, as I was saying, recommendation, we do not do the recommendation. We actually are, it's a third party. They do the recommendation. We just display it for them. And it's coming usually from like analysts in the US, like, and as you know, we call them Wall Street analysts because major banks usually they have analysts. They also cover, of course, they don't agree all the time. That's the purpose. But we have on our platform saying that, let's say that Tesla is a huge company, and that's why we have more coverage on that. And let's say 40 or 50 analysts cover that, and the majority they agree in some kind of buy or sell at that point. So that's also we're going to be displaying on our platform. And the last thing I was going to say, we are developing that advanced tool right now, but at the end, it becomes always, and I'll be very brutally honest, it comes to the individual investor to do the research. Because if they wanna, there are a couple of ways to do that. Of course, when it comes to individual stocks, most people, they don't feel secure. Why? Because they don't have enough knowledge to analyze, to go over the financials like balance sheet, cash flow, and projecting like future cash flows and finding intrinsic value of the stock. That takes kind of skill, and people take years to learn that. But for those people who wants to be like still make money, they can invest in ETFs without doing much research. Because ETFs, as I was saying, and we will, inshallah, once we cover all the stocks, and ETFs will be automatically covered. Right now, we're not covering ETFs because each ETF might have 150, 200, and number of stocks within it. ETF is actually, as I was explaining the other day, ETF is exchange trend fund, is a collection of stocks. So let's say if you want to analyze one ETF, you need to analyze 150, 200 stocks within that ETF. Unless you cover all the stocks, then your ETF like analysis wouldn't be complete. So once we cover, that's why we're trying to, inshallah, complete all the stocks in the world, because by default, we're going to be covering all ETFs in the world. And of course, when I say ETF, I mean stock ETFs. I'm not talking about the commodity ETFs. I'm not talking about the bond ETFs, which are not allowed in Sharia anyway. So for those investors who are not actually equipped to do thorough research by themselves, that they need to probably like go and invest in ETFs. It won't have probably that much return, but it's safer. It's going to have average return. And of course, when you think about it, it's just logic and math, right? One ETF, you might have, let's say, 100 stocks. Of course, within this ETF, you can have extremely good outperformance and really bad performance, right? Within that ETF, because you have 100 different stocks, one of them goes down, up and down. For individual investors who really want to do it as a professional, they need to learn how to analyze companies that invest within those ETFs, which mean individual stocks. For those, of course, for the time and effort they put, they're expected to gain more, I would say, returns, right? Because they can then maybe willing to or able to pick actually the outperformance within that. But if you're average investor, I think it's best route to go is like go with ETF if you don't want to take too much risk and end up losing most of your money. So as I was saying, it comes down to the individual investor, how much effort they want to put into doing research. But by using us, we're going to try to do as much as we can to help them, to educate them. As I was saying, we have Musafa Academy, where we want to teach them actually how to analyze stocks by going, for example, if you go to Yahoo right now, easily, Yahoo Finance, look up any other company, go under statistics, you're going to see there's so many different like metrics. Most people have no idea what they mean. And that's why we went through there more than 100 different metrics. And if you want to be an individual investor, you need to know most of them. You need to understand what they mean. And that's why for each metric, we are creating a unique post on Academy and Musaffa. And then not just explain from traditional perspective, but also from Sharia perspective, right? So what it means, like, for example, current ratio. If you just ask somebody current ratio, they don't know what it is. If I say current and liabilities divided by current assets, and they can say, okay, then I can explain what the current asset, current liability, why we need them. Why you need the current ratio? Why you want to look at the current ratio before you invest? So that company can pay off its liabilities within 1 year with its own assets,
Okay.
current assets. So it's simple things like that, but the goal is to educate them. And we don't know, I want to give this analogy. Alhamdulillah, I had the privilege of meeting and talking to Warren Buffett himself. So when we had a while ago, I'm very passionate about investments. So my goal, I want to give this thing. Let's say from what we're doing right now, inshallah, our goal is to, how do we know, maybe there's some kid just playing right now, bare feet. Maybe that person is next to Warren Buffett, or could be some guy from Indonesia, some kid or some girl. We don't know unless we reach out to them, give the opportunity, be exposed to the investment world. That's why we are going deeper. Actually, we just had a marketing meeting, and we are created like over 300 different posts on Academy, and we are launching Indonesian version. Why? Because Indonesia is the largest population in the world, Muslim population, and a very good potential, but 90% of people, they don't speak English, on average. So that's why we are launching an Indonesian version of our platform, our website, and our academy. So reach out to those people like who have the highest great potential to become actually more like financially independent, more knowledgeable in finance. So as I was saying, again, I think I answered your question. Finally, it's going to fall down on individual investor. But if they want to be on the safe side, let them invest in like Sharia compliant ETFs. But they want to put more research and learn, then I think individual stocks are the best option, as long as you can do your analysis. And going through of course, think about it this way. Inshallah, our analysts, we're going to start doing recommendation within our company soon. So not just to rely on the third parties. And to do that, the first filtering is going to be Sharia compliance. As you know, there's no point. It can be the best company in the world. It can be most profitable, but they sell tobacco or they sell marijuana, right? So it's not Sharia compliant. In that case, there's no point analyzing, wasting time on the company, even though it's going to be very profitable, right? The whole purpose is creating a Sharia compliant trading platform or screening platforms. Okay, screen the stocks, and then once it passes, then do analysis, right? And that's actually a really good thing for us because it saves so much time. So on average, 30% of companies, based on AFI screening methodology, around 30% companies, they pass the filter. So we don't have to analyze 100% of companies. All we have to do is like 30% companies we have to analyze. So I think, inshallah, we're going to be able to start analyzing them soon, and then and give more value to customers. But in the meantime, they can come and search, and every single stock we screen, we guarantee the results based on specific AFI screen methodology. And for common investor, it's going to be very impossible to do that because it takes years of experience going to annual reports, quarter reports, and understand line by line items. And believe me, there are over 300-400 line items. Each one has a unique meaning that even you cannot even find out if you Google them.
That's right, sir. As you mentioned in your conversation, that of course, at the end of the day, it's the responsibility of individual investors to do the basic research before they start investing in a specific stock. That's the thing which I understand. But for example, once I go to your platform, once I join your platform, what are the basic terminologies? What are the basic terms you would recommend me to have a basic understanding of before I really start investing? What is the basic knowledge you would recommend?
Yeah, in that case, right now, again, we're in the process. Alhamdulillah, as I was saying, we started like a year and a half ago. We're expanding fast, and we are actively recruiting like new analysts. We train them, and it's a lot of work. But inshallah, our goal, once we get our license from the US especially, and then based on the jurisdiction, we will officially start recommending. Not even that, our goal is to build ETFs ourselves. Because right now, here's what's happening. If you want to analyze ETFs, for example, exchange trade funds, we have to take the one given to us, right? From like there's over 6,500 ETFs right now around the world, as we know. So we have to take them, analyze them, and tell it's halal or not. But our goal is to, inshallah, soon create ETFs, Musaffa ETF. Musaffa ETF could be like based on the country, it could be world ETF, world index, or it could be, inshallah, with the based on different countries, like say Malaysian Musaffa ETF, right? Or we could, inshallah, it's going to be based on different sector industries. So we have so much in plan right now. So once we create based on our own screening, proprietary screening, so we don't have to rely. So unfortunately, what's happening right now, some of the Islamic finance institutions, as we know them, I don't want to name them right now, but they are buying the data from the providers that we don't actually find very reliable, and they're managing hundreds of millions of dollars, but the data they have, for example, like they invest in ETF, which is Sharia compliant, but based on our. But the interesting part is that we are using the same methodology. They're using AFI screening methodology, but we are finding out 20% of the holding is not compliant. That's crazy if you really think about it. And inshallah, so that's why we want to create in-house Musafa ETFs. That we don't want to filter the stocks on our own ETF when we build one. It's just going to be based on not just the halalness level, but it's also about performance level. So we want to integrate this too. And then at that time, inshallah, we're going to be able to say, okay, I think based on your risk and return profile, I think this ETF best suits you best. But it's going to be very hard for us to do that with the different ETFs while we find out they're not Sharia compliant. So, and it's becoming more and more, we're not being restricted. We have a world-renowned Sharia advisors. For example, when we go through and we have a question, we reach out to them. For example, as I was giving example, like military, if it's actually is not for us, we don't actually consider the companies that make weapons for military, for example, to be Sharia compliant, right? Because we are against that. And what about it becomes so like thin lines? It's very hard. There's a lot of gray areas. It's not like black and white. Because what about, for example, Boeing? This is Boeing, right? It's a big airplane company. And from the outside, you think, oh, they make airplanes. Okay, I think there's nothing wrong with it. It's a good thing. But once you go deeper, you see that over 20% revenue comes from defense. So they make really like planes that kill people and eventually, right? So that we say, okay, it's not Sharia compliant. So it's, and some communications, for example, they have a contract with the government, with the defense, and they make communication tools for military. So you won't know it from the look of it. You have to go dig deeper to find out those very, very small footnotes where they mention where they're gonna make the revenue from. And from outside, what's happening, the other platforms that we see, other screenings, they're not even looking at, they just look at the very high level and they say, oh, it's a Sharia compliant, let's pass it. And when we dig deeper, we have this line item, then we need to talk to Sharia advisors, and they say, okay, well, you know what, you're right, or you're wrong. So that's how the details as we go, we find out a lot of companies consider Sharia compliant from other screening tools is not passing our screening tool because we're being very, very accurate. And that's why it's kind of hard for us to recommend other ETFs or something while if they don't pass the filter, our filter, how are we going to be able to recommend? Inshallah, it's not going to happen in one day, but we are working very, very hard to make that happen.
Right.
Yeah. And it's coming soon, inshallah.
That's right. Do you have any rough timeline for that?
Yes, the goal is again within a year. Right now, we're in the process of actually we launched the paid version of our alhamdulillah, but very, very huge discount compared to our competitors, up to 80% discount right now.
80%.
But 80% from regular. For example, we look at the one of the screening providers called Zoya from US, and let's say they charge $15 a month right now to cover like 3 markets. But for global markets, we are charging only like right now. Of course, it's the promotion period. We're charging only like $3. It's like nothing compared to $15. And of course, we're gonna keep increasing it because of the expenses we are actually accruing. But the point is like we want to inshallah do this within a year. We are actually in talks inshallah with the investors. So in that process right now, and because from the standpoint of the workload, we already have a pipeline is full for the next 3-4 years. There's so much needs to be done, and we have a team of developers working day and night. We're actually launching right now. We have it ready. We just include the payment system with the phone app. So we are releasing our. It's actually in the testing period right now. The Android and iOS version of the whole app, and it's coming by the. I think it's going to be out by next month, inshallah.
That's great.
So we have a timeline. I say within a year, inshallah.
Good, great. By the end of this year, you're hoping to get a lot of things done.
Our goal is to do that, definitely, inshallah.
Great, wonderful. And sir, of course, we've discussed about the individual investors. And could you please tell me a bit more specifically who your target customers are? Do you serve institutional investors as well?
Yes, good point. We actually, in the talks of right now, our sales people and marketing people, that we are talking to several institutions right now that actually they're very excited and they're being very open. We are glad and to actually, some of them they already have data providers they're not happy with. For example, we are working right now, it's coming out very soon, every single stock that we cover, inshallah, they don't have to call us, finding the reasoning. We are being the most transparent for Islamic like Sharia compliant screening platform. They can see every single thing in detail. And right now it's in the works. For example, if you want to look at Apple, for example, and we see a lot of companies, they say Apple is halal, they pass it, but in ours it's completely very legit avoid company, Apple, because of the revenue, because the revenue is like 20 last report that came out in September, the 18 almost 19% revenue come from services, and they don't break it down where they're getting it. They tell us it's coming from Apple Care, from digital, from like advertising, and they got like 4 or 5 different sources for services that adds up to like almost 19%, but they don't tell us what percent of that comes from digital content and advertising, because these two contents are questionable because of the material they display for that, and it could be more or less than 5% of the revenue. I mean total revenue. They say 19% revenue comes from these 5 different sources, but they don't give out the source for each one. So we know that the most likely this digital content, and because we try to dig deeper and deeper, but it's extremely hard to find out when the company doesn't disclose this kind of information. So we don't know what percent exactly coming from digital content and advertising, but we can reasonably assume it could be more than 5%. That's why we say it's better to avoid this company when they don't have a full transparency, because under Sharia, under what we have like AFI methodology that we use, if it's revenue, questionable revenue is more than 5%, it's not, we're not really allowed to invest in the company.
Right.
So and for example, that one, instead of explain to you, we're gonna have everything in the report, breakdown of every single Sharia compliant revenue source, non-Sharia compliant revenue source, and questionable revenue source. Break it down, give our opinion, give the proof. Where are we getting the proof? From the statement. So it's gonna, when they click it, they're gonna be like, it's gonna extend and they're gonna see the proof. And it's same thing with happens with the financials, like where they're getting like how much cash they're holding, cash equivalent. So the things like, again, we are going back, think about going 300 or 400 different line items. Our analyst has to go visually. And one more thing I want to point out, we are creating this system. Alhamdulillah, we create the system. Every single stock has to go 3 times from 3 different analysts. So not one analyst is like a joke posted. Second analyst does it. Like first analyst actually does the research, and the second one reduce the work, make sure that the first one didn't miss anything. Third one actually is going to publish the results, which is going to be responsible for the both too. So we have this thing in place. Of course, it's going to cost us a little bit more money, but we are displaying, or we are advertising ourselves the most, accurate stock screener, and we have to be the most accurate. And actually, we are thinking about like saying, if you find some, like let's say that the Sharia compliance you don't agree with, you can prove us wrong. You get like annual subscription for free. Just maybe give it out them if they can prove it wrong. So this is a challenge to us to keep the highest quality we can have.
Wonderful.
Inshallah.
Amazing. And sir, You mentioned about your screening process. So from your perspective, Sharia compliance, being Sharia compliant is the most important criterion. And
Yes.
what are the other more very important criteria which you follow while screening a stock, apart from Sharia
Well,
compliance?
well, the thing is, again, I was telling you, as Muslims, we have our as an investor, it's just our work kind of doubles, right? First, you need to find out the company Sharia compliant or not. If it is, then you go dig if it's investable or not.
Yeah.
So if it's worth investing or not, right? So so the thing is again, I really want to point that I want people to understand, like as I was saying, because we give ranking, as I was saying yesterday, that not no other single screener does it for us right now. Give to like if it's Sharia compliant, we want to know how compliant, right? And that's also important for people because most I'm saying all screeners we know of, they just say compliant or not. That's it. They get they're done with it.
Uh-uh.
But we are going deeper, a lot deeper to financials. We say if it's compliant, I want to know how compliant it is.
Right.
Because being compliant doesn't mean okay, it's good. It could be compliant, but super close to not being compliant, or it could be very compliant, right? Because because companies' operations they change. Since it's a filter, they put a limit. I was telling you like as long as the revenue source not compliant, it's up to 5%. From that perspective, we can pass it as a Sharia compliant company. But there's a big difference if the company engages 4% not halal activity or 1% or 0%. There's a big difference. So we want to reward the companies who are very Sharia compliant and give them the very high ranking, like 4 and 5, right?
Right.
And of course, this can be based on the universe of stocks that we have. So 1 to 5, that's one thing. Let's say it passed. Second thing, right now, as I was saying, the recommendation is coming from third party. We are actually getting the data and displaying for our customers as a value. So that one, for example, later I can also display it, no problem, whenever we get a chance. So basically, for example, let's say 30 different analysts cover it, and most of them give buy and strong buy, and then we rank it from 1 to 5 also.
Okay.
So 4.5 means in the recommendation score, it's between buy and strong buy. So in general, consensus is like we get all different kind of numbers. Well, we take the weight average. We give the as users as customers, we want to give only one number, make it easy for them instead of trying to find the percentages of analysts sell, buy, like hold. We're just gonna give one number, 1 to 5, make it easier for them. 5 means everybody agrees strong buy. 1 means everybody wants every analyst saying strong sell. So let's say 4.5. It means like between buy and strong buy. So you go and you look at the Sharia compliance first, and then you look at the recommendation score second, right? That kind of helps you. But the recommendation score is usually it's good, but again, at the last moment, it's up to investor to make the decision. These are recommendation scores given as a recommendation. That's why we call it recommendation. But that recommendation, inshallah, is going to be in-house. Inshallah, that's our plan, to make it in-house with our current analysts instead of just relying on third parties. But I think it still creates a really good value, because if the company is very overvalued, most of them they're going to say hold or sell. So it kind of gives like it still gives a guidance, recommendations. And other than that, as I was saying, that they can also look at the related stocks. Let's say it's a very good past stock. Let's say they want to invest in US technology company. So they look at the company that they want. It has a 1 to 5 score if it's halal. And then if they're happy with it, let's say it's a 4 or 5. They're happy with it. They look at the recommendation score. It could be sell, right? So it's a very halal stock, but it's expensive already. So let's sell. And then they look at under the screen, they can see related stocks, and then they can see alternative stocks to that company, right? To the technology company. It's a different technology company within US. So they can look one by one and see if there's something, maybe something they like. So it also creates additional value to customers.
Right, sir. And sir, to my understanding, as you've mentioned, your customers are geographically located almost everywhere. So you can target
Everywhere.
geography
Anywhere.
doesn't matter, right?
No geographic barrier right now. We have officially right now, I can look up and tell you, officially we have people, if you just go to website, Musaffa.com, I can tell exactly. We have 101 countries right now, people from 101 countries, and people 4,603 companies. People are using 4,603. That's the number of members, and 101 countries. So there's no geographical barrier. Why? Because there's no by offering a screener, we don't have to comply with any rules. It's just open because we're just giving a screening. But inshallah, very soon when we start, let's say officially, like I would say that advising, right? Because you have to have a license for that. We're not advising right now. We're just giving a screening tool and let them determine. But when we start officially getting a license from US and advising, inshallah, it's going to be a little bit different, right? And we're going to also start taking people's money and invest for them, inshallah. Because think about it this way, and that's the way we want to go. You know, a lot of companies, not even Sharia compliant companies, because we are in this arena, like, so a lot of these companies, as far as we know, almost all of them we know is like saying that we are Sharia compliant investment company, give us your money. Give us your money. Let me invest it for you. And then they start questions that don't question. You don't understand it, give me your money. That's what's happening. But we want to completely change that one. We were saying we want to democratize. That's why we have academy. We have nothing to hide. Okay, let's teach people how to invest themselves. Let's give them the tool. You know, they say it's all Chinese proverb, like, right? Says if you catch a fish for a person, right? You can catch it every single day. You can catch one fish. But if you show the person how to catch a fish, you have to do it once. Our goal is that teach people how to invest themselves so they can start learning and they can do it. But if you want to really go with after people's money, which we don't, we're still gonna have so many people's gonna come and say, you know what, I really tried. It's a nice thing what you're doing, but I wish I had more time. Why don't you manage our money for us? We're still gonna have so much money, but we want to give that option first to our customers or people. Let give people this chance or power actually to invest for themselves. If they cannot do it, let them come to us. We have that option too as well, inshallah.
Right, sir. Sir, how much is the minimum I should have to be able to start investing?
A lot of people ask this kind of question. It's really interesting question because again, if you want to invest through some kind of bank or some kind of financial institution, of course they're gonna have some kind of minimum requirement, say like $100 to open an account with us. You need to have a minimum $100, stuff like that. So that question could be one version of the question that you asked. The other one would be like, if I want to invest, just invest, how much money should I have to get started? And I want to give that example, really good one, because again, it's not about how much you invest, it's all about like how much you make in terms of percentages, in terms of the return, right? So to start learning and investing, I think there is no age limit on that one, as long as you're mature. Like, let's say some places they have like an age limit, like US you have to be 18 or something to open an account. Other than that, to start investing, investing is a concept of actually spending money, taking some risk and getting some return, right? Even the kids can 5, 6 years old, they can be taught to invest. So when you say that, so I want to know, like, what do you mean exactly when you say that? How much do I need to invest? You mean with the institution or in general?
In general.
In general, again, it depends on where you are, and of course, like, and right now they have something. Inshallah, we will definitely have that fractional shares. We're gonna work on that, and basically right now, if somebody wants to, okay, I want to invest in Tesla, for example, right? But the stock costs like $1,000 to buy one stock, and a lot of people around the world, it's a lot of money. So, but by offering a fractional share, maybe we can offer like 1/1000th of the share for $1, right? So it's the same thing. Instead of like owning one share, maybe 1,000 people can own one share, right? I mean, that's called fractional share, and it's going to reduce the entry point for investing. So let's say if you have $100, you can already start investing. I mean, depending on the institutions, because some institutions have a limit of how much you can actually invest, because it's understandable that the company opens an account for you, they have to manage the account for you, right? And if they don't charge for a transaction, at least they need to put the minimum amount that you need to set. And I think that $100 is a good entry point around the world.
That's right.
Right now.
Great, wonderful. Most of the people I think in the world, if they are serious about investing, of course, they would have at least $100. No problem. No problem with that.
Yeah, I would think so. If you want to really invest, I think you'll somehow come up with
Some
$100
money,
minimum.
reasonable amount of money. If you want to earn something, yeah, you should definitely have some money. Sir, last but not the least question. Of course, the discussion is very interesting. I really learned a lot.
Definitely.
And my last question is, at the end of the day, everybody wants to be making a very informed decision. So why should I select you instead of going to your competitors while looking for
Sure.
Sharia compliant stocks?
Yeah, as I was saying, we actually welcome that. We actually challenge you to do that. Because why? Again, is it the price? We beat them because we're offering like maybe 20% of what they're charging. Is it the quality? We also challenge you that. Okay, so it's not about that. So a lot of places you see in basic economy. If you look at the basic economy, there's some called economies of scale. And if you look at the concept, for example, big markets like the Walmart in US, for example, they have big economies of scale, and that's how they still make money, but they're very, very strong financially. How? And because they offer the service to wider customers, and that's why we started from the day one. We went global, and instead of covering market to market and just consider like the wealthy countries, wealthy nations, like going to US, Canada, or that, we decide to go like anywhere we want to go, because in that way we can also spread the cost, right? Like let's say we are starting in Indonesia because we think it has a bright future, and also Malaysia is a Islamic financial hub right now. So we look at the different countries, and we are offering, since our market base is so wide. As I was saying, we have legit customers from 101 countries right now, 101. And you wouldn't believe, like we have some countries we haven't heard before, like they got people from there actually signing up. It's amazing because they have a need to do that. So first of all, we cover global coverage. At least for now, we're not gonna charge it per market. And that's what our competitors doing. For example, Islamically, I know they're more expensive and they don't give you the reason. And also they charge per market, for example, right? So we are giving right now, maybe later we will, but right now we're giving global access. And also one thing we have that they don't have, we will analyze any stock for you as long as you request. That's it. So right now we cover like 6 global markets, but the rest of them we cover it slowly, like based on the need and based on demand. I haven't seen anybody do that because we have this new feature that's coming up with if you sign as a premium member, and look up any company you want. And right now we are at the time of my speaking, we are integrating 60,000 companies in our platform. 60,000, right? 60,000. So it means like 72 exchanges. So almost any stock you can think of, we will cover. So let's say you come and sign up with our platform, and for some reason you look for stock, and usually if it's not covering, it's going to come out under coming soon. And of course our goal is to cover them as soon as we can, but not sacrificing quality. Quality is number one. That's why we tell analysts, not the quantity, quality is number one, right? Because we are promising to be most accurate stock and ETF screener, halal stock and ETF screener in the world. So if it's coming soon, no problem. They have a button underneath, says analyze this. You click it, you're gonna get the result within 1 to 2 days. You're gonna get the result delivered to your mailbox. That's it.
I understand.
So we're gonna be covering every single stock that you're interested. We can cover it. If we haven't covered it yet, because when we cover the stock, of course, we're gonna start with the like big companies and go down to small companies to micro companies with very, very few, like millions of valuation. But no matter, there's no big or small for us. We do all of them. So we cover them as long as you request, if it's not covered already.
Right. And which are the markets you're covering?
We cover right now almost like 6,000. That's like almost all the major stocks, and even small caps from US, because we see that people are signing up all around the world. They want US. They want to invest in US. It's incredible. So we're covering US, we cover Canada, we cover UK. I'm talking about the completely. and we covered Singapore, we covered Indonesia, Malaysia. These stocks are covered completely. And now we're moving to next step. We think about going to India. You won't believe, a lot of people keep asking, like, why don't you cover India? So we'll also look at the customer feedback. We work very closely with customers, but our goal is to cover every single stock in the world, inshallah, soon. That's why we are actively hiring and actually training analysts, very bright people. We hire them, we train them. Actually, I'm a CFA charter holder myself. I'm pretty sure you heard about the designation.
Yes.
It's one of the very highly regarded designation. And we're actually implementing right now an analyst. Actually, we're creating this program to work towards CFA, right? Because that also exposes them to a lot of in finance. So that's why we're hiring the best qualified people we can find, and we are training them with rigorous programs so that they can always stay on top as a top-notch analyst. That's what we're doing right now.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time you've taken to speak with us today, sir. It was really very enjoyable. I enjoyed every single moment speaking with you. And I learned,
likewise.
And I'm sure our viewers will also be able to learn a lot from you for your discussion. And hopefully they will be able to become your members and make informed decisions and earn a lot of money by investing in various stocks.
Halal way, invest in the halal way, right? That's why we give the most important, invest and earn your money the halal way. And that's why we are here to help. Again, we are right now we're offering screener, but very soon, inshallah, we're gonna have investment platform, a trading platform where investors can trade by themselves, whatever they want to trade. Of course, we're gonna let them trade if it's halal. If it's not halal, we're not gonna have a buy button there. So just to let you know. If it's not halal, you cannot invest in our platform. That's why we want to stay complete Sharia compliant. And the third one is as an investment platform, right? They can come and choose what ETF they want to choose, right? So the ETF, most of them is going to be, inshallah, our goal is to make them in-house. So they can buy and sell ETFs. So again, we want to cover all aspects of investments when it comes to halal investments, starting from a screener and doing the trading themselves and actually doing investment with us. Or let them manage their money for them. So we're gonna have all aspects. So if you want to make money, it's gonna be, inshallah, our platform is gonna be one-stop shop for all your investment needs. Not only that, we have a community and academy with a very active community and academy. They can learn and they can ask questions in academy. They can say, they can send the only question they have, info@musaffa.com. I want this topic to be covered. Are student loans halal or not? For example, we already covered that. Or they can ask, like, is this stock halal? Any kind of question related to Islamic finance, not just investments. We have actually good scholars and Islamic finance experts actually who can write an article, whole article, and post it. And right now, if you go our platform, Musaffa, academy.musaffa.com, you're gonna see, like, I think we have over 300 posts already with different subjects related to Islamic finance.
That's great.